Now, our justice system is supposed to be one which treats all of us fairly and equally. But it's pretty evident that the way our justice system operates does not treat everyone equally. Even though our Constitution guarantees that everyone have legal representation in criminal cases, the way this is enforced does not put everyone on an even playing field. Those who don't have any means of their own to hire a private lawyer are dependent upon two options. One is to make use of legal defenders who are hardworking, committed, and often well-trained, but they are not properly funded. They have huge caseloads. They don't have adequate funds to engage in the kind of investigations a client needs. And they're certainly paid less than the public prosecutors they face. And if you don't choose a legal defender operating for the legal defender's office, you then have a court-appointed lawyer. But that court-appointed lawyer is not paid enough to make your case the center of their interest. If we really want to have all individuals have access to equal legal care, we have to have a system of legal care that is like a single-payer health service. And the way it would operate is that everyone would be able to choose any lawyer they want for both criminal or civil cases. The fees would be regulated in negotiation with the body that provides legal insurance. And then individuals could get the legal services they need, and they would be paid for by a fair taxation system that makes those who are most affluent pay their fair share. Now, having legal care for all is fundamental for our criminal justice system, our justice system in its entirety, to have any kind of fairness and allow people to be equal for the law. But it's not enough. Our whole legal system has been operating in a way that subordinates justice to money. And we see this in the most extreme and shameful way in the encouragement of private prisons. Private prisons make it a matter of subjugating people to the accumulation of profit, where private prisons have an incentive to imprison as many people as possible and keep them in prison as long as possible, and to offer them the least expensive services possible. This is not what justice demands, and we need to get rid of private, profit-seeking prisons. But that also is not enough, because we have a whole bail system that penalizes the poor. Namely, if you don't have the money to pay for bail, you remain in jail. And this is not much different from a debtor's prison, where the criminal justice system is taking advantage of the poor and keeping them in jail when there's no reason their family life, their opportunities to earn a living, are going to be disrupted in this fundamental way. Similarly, the criminal justice system allows money to govern how it operates by charging all sorts of fees, both to enter the legal process, to spend one time in prison, and if you don't have the money to pay for these services, you either don't get the services you need, or you may end up being imprisoned for not being able to pay certain fines, and so forth. Another sign of the fundamental inequality with which our legal system remains strapped is the way that we have plea bargains operating. Everyone knows that individuals can plead guilty without their confession being true. They may be hiding the truth in order to protect someone else, or they may be misinformed about what actually happened in the crime itself. They may mistakenly think that they are responsible, or they may be pleading guilty to avoid the risk of being prosecuted for a crime with higher penalties. That's what goes on in plea bargaining. We all know when plea bargains are arranged that the plea need not be true. And we see the most egregious example of what happens when we allow guilty pleas to put an end to judicial investigations when we think of the assassination of Martin Luther King. James Earl Ray pleaded guilty. That was the end of any investigation of the crime. When he was in prison, he indicated that he wanted to have a retrial so that he could divulge the details of the conspiracy of which he was a part. But double jeopardy made that impossible. We have to get rid of pleas. Other legal systems do not have pleas. We as citizens always have a right to have the facts of the case be brought out, irrespective of whether the defendant is willing to admit to committing the crime or not. We need to have full disclosure, and that means we should not allow for there to be pleas, and the plea bargaining that goes on that usually involves filling our jails with people who are poor and poorly defended.